My name is Rosenthal, and I teach here at Drisha in the July Institute, the high school program, and in continuing education. This week's Parsha is Parashat Korach, which opens with the story of Korach and his congregation rebelling against Moshe and Aaron. Korach mounts his challenge by claiming that Moshe and Aaron have unfairly put themselves above the rest of the community, arguing, Ki kol ha'edah kulam kedoshim. The entire assembly, they are all holy. Much has been made of this claim, as it is usually assumed to be less altruistic than it seems at first glance. It is not that Korach wants a more egalitarian leadership structure, but rather that he wants to claim the mantle of leadership for himself. However, since the precise nature of Korach's sin is unclear, it falls to Chazal and the Mefarshim to fill in the gaps in the story. Part of the reason for the extensive focus on explaining the story of Korach is related to its mystery, but also due to the decidedly unambiguous message sent by God at the conclusion of the story. Korach and his congregation are swallowed up by the earth in a shocking show of supernatural power, highlighting the great magnitude of God's anger at them. And in fact, Chazal picks up on this anger in Perek Chalek in Masechet Sanhedrin, listing Eidat Korach as being among those who have no share in the world to come. There is something completely irredeemable about this challenge made to God's leadership. The Gemara on that Mishnah tells a number of stories to explain this exclusion, but there was one that I found especially striking. In the opening of the Korach story, the Torah lists 4 people as leading the rebellion: Korach, Datan, Abiram, and On. However, when Moshe summons them later in the Perek, On is conspicuously missing from the list. Rav tells the following story to explain this exclusion. Amar Rav, On ben Pelet ishto hatzilato. Rav said, On the son of Pelet, his wife saved him. Amrale, ma nafla chamina. Imar Rabba anta talmida, the Imar Rabba anta talmida. She said to him, what will you gain from them? If this one is your master, you are his disciple, and if this one is your master, you are his disciple. Amar la, maya avid, have be'etzah v'ishpati lehai behaydayu. He said to her, what shall I do? I was part of their council, and they have made me swear that I will be with them. Amrale, Yadana dekula kenishta kadishta ninhu, tichtiv ki kol ha'olam kulam kedoshim. She said to him, I know that they are a holy congregation, as it is written, because the whole congregation, they are holy. Amrale, tuv, anta matzilan alach. She said to him, sit, and I will save you. Ishtite chamra, ve'arvaite, ve'agmine gave, ve'otva al baba, ve'satra lamaze, kol de'ata chaze hadar. She had him drink wine and made him intoxicated, and lay down with him in the tent. She then sat at the gate with her hair uncovered, and everyone who came to see her turned away. One of the many striking elements that came through for me when reading this story was the notion of misplaced piety. Owen's wife understands that in Korach's skewed perspective, the holiness of God's commandments still exists, even as he is willing to challenge the authority of God's chosen leader. Somehow, Korach lacks the ability to see that Moshe serving as God's messenger is linked to the very laws that cause him to turn away from Owen's wife. In fact, the Midrash in Bamidbar Rabbah, which Rashi cites, draws out this notion even further. Korach, in light of the mitzvah and tzitzit given at the end of last week's Parsha, dresses his congregation in garments made entirely of tchelet and goes before Moshe to ask whether these garments required tzitzit. When Moshe says they do, despite already containing tchelet, Korach mocks him, claiming that if a single string can count to fulfill the commandment, a garment of tchelet, how much more so? Again, Chazal is drawing on the notion of misplaced or misunderstood piety, and the degree to which it causes Korach to miss the larger point of what it means to be part of Klal Yisrael. In Dvarim Daled Bet, Bnei Yisrael are commanded, Lo tosifu al davar asher anochi mitzvah etchem hayom, velo tirgu mimenu lishmor et mitzvot Hashem Elokeichem asher anochi mitzvah etchem. Do not add to the matter I have commanded you, nor take away from it, to the commandments of Hashem your God that I have commanded you. To keep the commandments of Hashem your God that I have commanded you. This mitzvah, the source of the prohibition of being Bal Tosif, or of adding to the Torah, seems like a direct response to Chazal's understanding of Korach. Garments that are made fully of tchelet without tzitzit, or the avoidance of women who are perceived to not be tsanua while refuting God's appointed leaders, is not the point of Torah, or of being part of the Jewish community. This is not holiness, even if it has the ability of being the illusion of being thus. Thus, to avoid being like Korach, we must take a more global view of Torah. It is not the performance of any single mitzvah, but rather the notion of a Torah that is larger than its composite parts that will allow us to achieve holiness. So perhaps what we are supposed to learn from Korach is that humility, rather than confidence in the face of God's will, is what will truly allow us to become a holy community. Shabbat Shalom.